welcome to this very majestic, or should I use marvelous, Monday. What's the best adjective to describe the Monday? How do you feel about this Monday? Describe with an M word.
With an M word?
Yeah.
I don't know. Money Monday?
Money, all right, not bad. But then if you're not talking cash, because money can be Naira and whatever it is.
Yes, it could be either of those.
Because cash is still pretty much scarce. And I drove, around town today. Not like I didn't have any business and I was just cruising. But I saw quite a number of the banks with, large queue, presence of people outside the gate. And I'm just thinking, is it a dispense error or we're just going to show this bank we're mad at them or something? But there were still quite a number of people in front of the banks, outside the gate. And, for me, it's a little troubling. I wanted to go into one of the banks to fix and address a problem.
Yes.
But when I saw the crowd in front of it, I was like, it's a little humiliating. Me and my money, I'll come and be outside your gate like a refugee.
Listen, going to the bank right now is not the best option for you at all. If you can do anything via your application or you can call customer care if you're lucky enough, you should do that. Or better still, just reach out to them via social media. I think that's an easy way to also.
But then it's a password issue of online banking.
Oh, the one you mentioned.
And they said I have to meet them
in person.
And then their gates have like 200 people.
Nah.
With padlock.
You would have to wait. You would have to hold on. I don't know how long, but I'm just hoping that nobody has to go to the bank right now to do anything at all because the crowd there is crazy. And a lot of people are trying to get cash. The old 200 Naira, the new notes, no one is available. The lower denominations, it's difficult to even get anyone. I mean, I found a 100 Naira note in my pocket, and you need to see how
it felt
thankful.
like $100.
See, I was so thankful. I was so excited for 100 Naira.
You're like, you're still legal tender.
See.
And 100 Naira was not redesigned, but it became scarce. It was forming 1,000.
So, I mean, it's too much going on right now.
I know, right?
It's also election week, so happy election week.
All right.
We've been waiting for this for the longest.
We're counting down 5 days to the election. PVC ready. So, we are good to go. Welcome to the show. It's Hard Fact to get very intense on the show. We start off looking at the big stories, driving conversation, and then we kind of like shift gear into something equally topical. And today, 5 days to the election. Welcome to election week, like you mentioned. We'll be asking you what are some of your main concerns about the election come Saturday, the 25th of February. But that's at the 5 o'clock hour. For our roundtable today, joining us for the very first time, I think, on the roundtable, we have Mr. Jide Ojo. He's a development consultant. He's a public affairs analyst, a columnist, a fine one at that. And he joins us on the roundtable today. Delighted to have you join us. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Kim. Good afternoon.
Welcome, Mr. Jide. My name is Itodo, not everyone.
I know this is the first time you're saying it on the round.
My first time saying Itodo.
Welcome.
But it's a pleasure.
I like the cup. I should take it. It would fit me. So
no, we can batter it.
It's straight out batter season. You don't need cash for this. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And I'm a little curious as to how you're coping with the situation. Or you don't strike me like one who will call the bank manager to come and see you somewhere. You just strike me like someone who wants
Let me just give you a scenario. Just like Itodo, I had no shishi on me. No shishi. So yesterday I needed to work on my system and there was no light. So it got to a point the battery alerted me. I needed to charge to continue what I was doing. So I told my gatekeeper, please put on the gen. He was trying to put on the gen, the rope cut.
No
and
way.
I said, okay, please go call the technician. The technician comes. This man said, I said, oh, God, we need to buy something of 1,000. I have no shishi. So I said, can I make a transfer to you? He said, oh, God, I don't have account. Okay, can you, where you want to buy the thing, can they take transfer? He said, it's not they take transfer. So, long story short, we have to pack the jet. And that was how my work was stalled yesterday. And I just wonder how micro and small enterprises, I mean, just imagine you having to pump a tire. You have a flat and you need to pump and you want to make transfer of 50 Naira.
50 or 100 Naira, that depends on the area where you are.
Yeah. Even 100 Naira. This is something you always reserve some money for in your dashboard. But right now, whether it's 50 Naira, is 100 naira, is coins, is whatever. Paper money is as scarce as masquerade faces. And it's so unfortunate because you don't do this kind of transition by fiat. Cashless policy has been on from 2012, but the infrastructure of the banks never really got expanded to cope with the volume of traffic anticipated, particularly when the CBN was contemplating having this kind of redesigning of the Naira note. I mean, you don't have to tell the public, but if you send a memo to these banks and say, please, we give you 3 months to expand your infrastructure, your digital infrastructure, bandwidth or whatever. We are contemplating having redesign. And of course, because this was designed, it was redesigned. It was designed. It was not spontaneous. It was contemplated. They built scenarios. But the scenario, they don't capture the fact that when you have, Governor Rufai was saying this morning that he has it on good authority that only 400 billion has been printed.
That's what he said, yeah.
Whereas the president said last Thursday that 2.1 trillion has been taken into the bank vault. So look at the disproportionate way the whole thing has been handled.
But this is when you start to wonder, should we even be listening to Governor Erufai here? Where is he coming from? Because one who should be privy to all of the details of this is the president. We're talking about currency issue, which is in the exclusive list.
The president in this case is so detached, so aloof from reality, that I never know how we made the mistake of entrusting with our national commonwealth. Because here you are, you don't need an attorney general. A Supreme Court of the country make a pronouncement twice in 1 week, on the 7th, on the 8th, and on the 15th, that, look, let the old and the new coexist. And the president chose, or whatever legal advice of somebody, to cherry pick and say, okay, 200. I watched people on TV yesterday. I nearly cried. I've not entered any bank vote in the last, in fact, since the beginning of this year, I've not entered. I've not made that mistake. I'm even looking for Naira to buy now. I couldn't get. Unfortunately, no POS operator in my neck of wood is working. But let's look at the man, Muhammadu Buhari. At least, in his first tenure as military head of state, he did this at the beginning of his administration. Because, truth be told, timing is very key. If APC loses on Saturday, not many of his party's chieftains will exonerate him as not being involved in their loss. And you need to also be at the back of your mind. I'm not a politician, I'm not a caricature man. You need to be at the back of your mind that APC's nomination fund was the costless.
What do you call that?
100 million,
100 million
for presidential aspirants, 50 million for gubernatorial aspirants. Timi Presiva just picked his own for Bayelsa today. Now, these candidates who have emerged after spending so much in the primaries have been spending resources in the last 140-something days, because this is the first time campaigns were going for 150 days. It used to be 90 days. Now, people are exhausted. Then at the apex of your effort, when you are looking at victory, somebody wants to truncate it. Because El-Rufai and many governors who are fighting the president on this are not doing it out of love for the populace in the true sense of it.
It's about their interest.
Some of them are also standing election. They are either seeking re-election or they are coming to Senate. And 3 ballot papers will be given to people on Saturday. And the mood of the nation now is that anything but APC. So you can see collateral damage. Because at the end of the day, they give you 3 ballot papers. He said, these stupid people, they just came and turned our life. Did you see the story about the man in Kano who lost his pregnant wife because of less than 9,000 naira, 8,500 and something?
Well, there are a lot of these stories.
You know, this is tragic. As in, the man took the wife there to the hospital, not to Abba Center, hospital. And they said, go and buy drug. He has the old Naira cash on him. He paid. They said, no, we can't take this. He made transfer. They said, until they are alerted. Meanwhile, the woman was bleeding. And she bled to death.
All right.
So when you look at all these stories, then you ask, where is the humanity in us? According to the Punch newspaper today, you can do a Google check. 13 lives have been lost in 12 states over protests on this Naira note. 13 innocent lives. Those who collapsed on queue, those who are murdered in a bid to quell the protest. The protest. Today, 2 banks have been set ablaze in Shagamu.
Yeah.
These are monumental losses.
Now, this is something also to look at, given the protest that we're seeing and the fact that this morning we still had a protest. You start to wonder, is there a way to manage it? Because the president from Ethiopia put out a message to telling Nigeria, exercise some patience. All of these will pass. There's light at the end of the tunnel and stuff like that. And yet we're still being greeted with protests this morning. You start to wonder, when is it going to tap her out at one point?
That you know why? This is political season.
So are we to think that politicians are behind the protest also?
Not necessarily, but you can also see a lot of political intrigues in all of this. Who first went to court to get a federal high court injunction? 5 political parties acting supposedly on behalf of 13 said they got an injunction of federal high court, Abuja, saying that February 10 should be sacrosanct. It was 2 days after the Supreme Court gave its own interim injunction. Now, who are the people getting all these injunctions? But it didn't stop at that. Let's look at the bigger picture. You don't want protest. But as we speak, INEC is on tenterhooks. Festus Okoye Esquire reportedly told journalists that they are hoping that the cash needed for election will be made available to it by CBN between today and tomorrow. Otherwise, it becomes too late. You need to pay for services by Wednesday. If you don't pay road transport workers by Wednesday, they are not available.
But isn't it a bit worrisome that this, people who are going to be working alongside INEC cannot take transfers, cannot go with the cashless policy as well, saying that Nigeria is going through that path right now? This goes to show that this was not properly thought out.
That's what we said. Itodo, this is, you don't blame those people. It's a choice for me to have or not to have bank accounts. It's my right. There are people today who will never collect debit card from any bank. They don't believe in using debit card, in using ATM. They believe it exposes them to fraud. So it's a right. You can't compel everybody to have bank account. There are transactions. Okay, you are complaining. You are saying that you are amazed. Have you heard of fake bank alert? Oh? True. So you go buy goods worth 50,000 from somebody, and then you flash alert, and then you go with the goods, and then the person called his account officer, said, "Oh, you have been duped." Contemporary time. That's what. So some people have gone through that path of being deceived with fake bank alert, that if they don't get cash, they don't give you service or goods. So you don't blame people. These are demographics you should have contemplated. And when we say that this Naira swap currency redesign is ill-timed, this is what we are alluding to. I have been observing elections since 1999 in this country. There has never been any previous INEC chairman that needed to go and meet CBN to provide it cash The only meeting that takes place is over the MOU of keeping their sensitive material in their custody for some period prior to the deployment. So now you have INEC chairman running from pillar to post. Is meeting Mele Kyari to make fuel available. Is meeting CBN governor to make cash available. Nigeria, even if INEC is sorted, what about you and I? What about you and I? Who will be going on election observation? What about us? Don't we need cash? Who is going to? I just read about what's happening in Kaduna now. In Kaduna now, if you are a fuel station attendant, you are a beautiful bride. Everybody is cutting you. They just say, Oga, let me buy some cash from the money you have on you. These people will come with, cash.
That's the new cash.
That's the new cash. Okay. So you just go do deals with them. That's how Kaduna people are now finding their way.
But is it only in Kaduna?
Well, I didn't know about. I read about Kaduna case.
I saw someone jumping as over the market. Madam, please let me have that your cash and do the transfer for you. That's
the level of desperation. And you know the irony, we are being penny wise, pound foolish.
How so?
Okay, now the president said in his speech, two things he said, which were critical against, he alluded to in his February 16th speech. He said CBN has been able to mop in over 2 trillion, 2.1 trillion. Number one, he said that's 80%. Number two, he said he believes this policy will help to curb vote buying.
True. Yeah, he said that.
Did he think it true? When people are thirsty of something, you now pour them water and you say, don't drink. Did you get that analogy? Somebody is thirsty. You brought him water. I said, but this water, just be watching it. Don't drink. This will even excite people to ask for money.
I've heard critics of the policy say it will even reduce the amount giving. If it was 10,000 budgeted before, it reduces it to 2,000.
But it will make more people to collect. It will make more people to collect. And you see, again, apart from exciting people to collect, it's also like, let me give this solution. Road safety will tell you, if you are driving and you are about to, maybe you fail brake, and there are 10 people here, there is one person here. It's better to kill one person than to go and kill 10 people. Both are tragic.
Lesser evil.
Lesser evil. Now, you want to catch 1% or 5% of the population who is contesting election. You want to prevent them from buying votes. But you impoverished, you made the entire population to go through excruciating pains. How beneficial is that? Okay. Because the people you want to catch, in any event, you cannot catch them. These politicians, the frontline one, are shareholders in many of these money deposit banks. And if they want ₦1 billion today, they will get it. Have you seen
people? A lot of people seem to believe the theory that the monies that was put out, whether you think it's 2.1 trillion or 500 billion, were mopped up by these politicians. A lot of Nigerians want to bet their paycheck and say the reason why it's not in circulation is because it's being hoarded also.
That is debatable. But let me tell you, I have been working with politicians over the decades. Let me tell you how they think. They build scenarios and they use what in political science we call game theory. They anticipate. So it's like playing chess. The moment Emefiele made that pronouncement on October 26th, they are already thinking of how to circumvent that. So many of them, this is what they will have done. What they will have done, I'm anticipating. One, convert their Naira to dollar, euro, pounds. Buy real estate, exotic cars, jewelries, convert them into, liquid, solid assets. Now, they will now sell to get the new cash. That, apart from the fact that they are very influential people, some of them are owners or part owners of these money deposit banks. You heard Emefiele saying first week of January that, we've pumped out money But these people are holding. They are not necessarily holding. They are trading with it. The bank officials are also, they see this as their own only pot through which they can make money.
Let's go on a quick break right now. When we come back, we'll continue with this conversation. You can watch us live on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja. Ensure that you subscribe as well.
The roundtable continues. We have Mr. Jide Ojo with us on the roundtable as our guest analyst today. We're still looking at the cash crisis and other attendant issues around it. And just before we went on the break, it was sharing with us, walking through the mind of the average politician in Nigeria and how they convert their money. But sir, let's shift gear a little, looking at this the governors versus Buhari and Emefiele. That's what it feels like, because you're even getting the party leaders, taking sides, people like Adamu aligning with the governors, asking Buhari to respect Supreme Court order. We're seeing the governor of Kaduna State make a broadcast after the president saying, continue to spend that money, even if he had no right and jurisdiction to make a pronouncement around currency issues, saying, continue to spend it after the election. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then today he was tweeting, talking about confiscation of money that is not just the redesign, because the intention is, going by the provision of the CBN Act, is if I have 100,000, I swap with 100,000 redesign. And then if I decide to take my 100,000 and then you lock up and give me nothing in return, I start to struggle with it, you're confiscating my money, which he sees as being problematic. So looking at also the interplay here, how this relationship is dwindling and how you see it even affecting the party, entire value chain of it for those who are running for office.
Which is why there's the jitters in the camp of APC. Because, see, I'm sorry, but it will seem President Buhari is trying to play the ostrich here. In 2019, you and I remember the trader money that was shared, even on the eve of election. It was done in cash. Even the VP was involved, going from market to market, giving people 10,000 under the guise that they were doing social investment program. All of a sudden, because you are on your way out, you need to read what Ganduje said. If a southern governor had said what the Ganduje said, they would have said arrest him for treason. It was very blunt. That this is the ladder that brought you to power. Why did you want to burn the ladder? Yes, the president is not standing election, but thousands of his party members are standing election, and they risk the loss of their investment in this electoral process.
But you're making it sound as if they're the only ones investing in the election. We have the PDP, we have Labour, we have NNPP, and other stakeholders in this election.
They are the beneficiaries of this chaos. Because the mood of the nation today is not against PDP. In fact, they are now making PDP look like the only father, the Pope. This brings us to mind the situation in 2015, when the mood of the nation was so much against President Jonathan over the issue of keyboard girls, over the issue of insecurity and all of that. And it was like everybody but Jonathan. The only thing that didn't happen now, compared to what happened in 2015, was the defection. We didn't see defection from APC to opposition party. But they are just being, I can tell you for free, you may see those defections if APC loses the presidency on Saturday. Because the moment you lose the presidency, there is a bandwagon effect. And people should know, see, the reason why opposition are making every word out of this and saying, no, don't increase, don't extend, is because they know the more there is protest, the more people will not want to vote APC back to power. The more voters will be looking at opposition. So Labour Party, PDP, NNPP, AA will now be making gains out of this, even though they would not have done any better if they were to be the one. And what I liken what is going on to is what I will call self-immolation. There's a case in Ogun where a woman who was in a microfinance, 70,000, could not pay, decided to send her child to buy her petrol, douse herself, and set herself ablaze, and burn herself to death. That is exactly the illustration of what APC is doing. On the eve of election, no fuel. Forget that we in Abuja now, we are lucky. At least I don't have to stay for 1 hour to get fuel now, since last week. But what about other states? A friend of mine that came from Osun State yesterday said they were buying fuel for over 300 naira in Osun. Likewise, Oyo, unless you get an NPC fuel station. So, one, over this fuel, you told us you are subsidizing with 3.5 trillion in 2023. So people are still having to queue or buy more than double the official price. So people are angry. Now, two, their own money has been confiscated. It's not the Rufai that first used that. Keyamo used it on channels. He said what is going on is not cash swap, it's cash confiscation. That people's money are being confiscated because my money, I don't have access to it. I saw people who were supposed to be in church yesterday queuing up at ATM, and what they could get is 2,000. After queuing for hours, he could only get 2,000, and he spent 500 to come to town. He spent 500 to go back. And so all his labor to access his own money, he's not begging. Even beggars now, they are angry with Buhari. Because nobody is giving beggars. Will you be making transfer? You know, that time that you just squeeze 100 naira, 50 naira for a beggar and say, okay. Now, they are looking, they are smiling, but nobody is responding to them. Because now, POS operators have closed business. You saw the trending pictures of women in the market who are just looking forlorn. Because many of them do not have bank accounts, and people want to purchase goods from them, do not have cash. So how do you make your purchases? There are things, last week I wanted to buy a copy of Punch on Wednesday. And so I don't have cash. And I got to this vendor. I was excited. Okay, let me buy. He said, Oga, I don't have POS and I don't have bank account. So I looked around, nowhere to get cash. I have to drop it. So the man will go home with unsold copies. Now, have you thought of micro, small, and medium enterprises being the engine of growth of every economy? Now, this same demography are now losing their businesses.
But isn't that why the president also put out a statement accepting the fact that all of this impact on the economy and on businesses is tangible enough to recognize it? A lot of people have trickled this down to just politics of things and the vote buying, and the same people are going to go through this excruciating pain until after election. The guarantees are high that immediately after the presidential election, things are going to pick up. There has to be more money in circulation.
Now, wait. I gave you an illustration.
You sure did.
Do you, because you want to catch 5% of the population that want to engage in vote trading, you now make the entire country to go through this kind of excruciating pain? The answer is in your heart. But more importantly, look at it from this way. What will have damaged? What will have been irreparable if the president have announced on 16th to say, in respect to Supreme Court decision, the old and new Naira note will continue to coexist until such a time that CBN and printing and minting is able to print sufficient currency before the old currency is phased out. What will have damaged? What will have what? So the point is, this protest is subsisting because the president have chosen not to obey the Supreme Court. And let me tell you something. In not too distant future, not past. Future now, past. NIN 2020. Remember when we were doing national identity card registration,
enrollment.
Enrollment. What did Issa Pantami, Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, what did he tell you? Everybody must enroll between now and October. They gave a deadline. Everybody was rushing. That was the peak of pandemic, COVID-19. Some staff of NIMSI contracted COVID-19. Some people, because there was shoveling, there was pushing, people exploited the situation. You will hear of people bribing to get enlisted or enrolled. Today, as that enrollment ceased, it's still on. But they made people to suffer untold hardship in the name of having everybody enrolling. In 2020, when there was pandemic, some of us came out and said, this is unheard of. In the midst of a pandemic, when you are supposed to have physical distancing, you are insisting. And at that time, the enrollment was being done only by in NIMSI offices. And they have only one offices across every state. So at the end of the day, eventually they now said, mobile telecommunication companies, you can register. This one, you can. Now, everybody can. The only catch is, if you want to renew your driving license now, they will ask you for your name number. If you want to get international passport, they will. So, if you say you don't have, they will just point to you, go and do it there.
Register there.
Okay, is that not what they're supposed to have done in 2020? Rather than I enrolled.
But it's obvious
I've enrolled in Lagos. They canceled that enrollment. They said that one is no longer valid. I have to go and enroll at their national headquarters there. But did you know what has happened? In the last 3 years, they didn't put my home on the internet. So I had to go in there again. I said, is this not where you gave me? Are you not the one that gave me this slip in this same office? Why is it not online? Why can't I access it? They now say, okay, we have done it now. Just imagine 3 years. So this kind of study, at the end of the day, if the president has just also, today, if he says the old and the new Naira will coexist until such a time that CBN is able to have enough cash, I tell you all this.
But Mr. Jide, you know that would have defeated the aim of the agenda the president has.
This is how it will have worked.
The president does have an agenda.
Listen, this is how it works.
And it is to ensure that there's no cash in circulation.
This is how it will work. In fact, it won't. This is how it will work. As you are bringing the old, the bank will not pay out the old. They will only be giving you the new. But people will still be using the old to transact business. Right now, look, I mean, let's leave El-Rufai. El-Rufai is said to be playing devil's advocate or whatever. But assuming without considering that truly the amount printed by CBN through the mint is 400 billion. And you have mop up 2.1 trillion. Definitely you will not but experience what we are experiencing. So the bottom line is that in other climes, this exercise could have gone on for 6 months or for 1 year. Because at the end of the day, you said you want to improve the economy, you want to bring down inflation, you want to... Will this bring down inflation?
All right.
When consumption, when production is no longer going on.
All right, Mr. Jide, let's hear some thought from people who are listening to our conversation. We're live on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info ABJ. That's YouTube. And Facebook is the same, at Nigeria Info Abuja. And quite a number of comments have been shared with us. So let's read them.
Going straight to the YouTube platform right now, Mahmoud Mohammed says... okay, that's your choice. Ayodele Samuel Adepiton says, greetings, Nigeria Info. One of the things I hope for in the forthcoming elections is for the right candidates to command, no matter their religion, tribe, and so on, and their life to meaningful to Nigerians. Awuru Joshua says, Ogajide, I had to listen to your voice to know that it is not my Igede brother. My traditional Igede cap looks good on you. Okay. Our Joshua also says this sacrifice rather is worth making. If you are following the agitations from these APC governors, you'll be convinced that some people actually want to buy votes. And Jude Emeke says this is like throwing away the baby with the bath water. Okay.
On Facebook also?
On Facebook, right here, let's see what we have. My page. You can go on with that.
Alrighty, let's see here. Jimmy Louis Femi, okay, you're with us. Hafsat Moazu, thank you very much for joining us. Also, Francis Namani says, watching from Amaguenze in Enugu State. Good afternoon from here. As the 2023 election begins on the 25th of February, I'm really confident that INEC will provide level playing ground for all the parties and candidates. We're hoping for that also. Femi Okanda is also watching via Facebook. And what is happening to APC is exactly what happened to the prophet of Baal in the Bible. They would eat themselves. All right, Manzo, thank you very much. And we see here also lovely and amiable sister and brothers in the studio. The Word of God says, person who knows what is right to do but does not do it is sin. James 4:17. As a man thinking in his heart, so he is. Okay, what? All Bible verses. Evangelist Ruben from Buhari. All right, and I'm profoundly shocked at the position taken on this cashless policy by people who are earned my respect on the platform in the past. I hear some people say the reason why they support the federal government resolved to disobey the Supreme Court pronouncement is because the same government has disobeyed such things in the past, and the people complaining now did not complain then. Can one wrong justify another? My question is, how independent is INEC if they've depended on the central bank and MD of an NPC for the smooth and successful conduct of the election? Okay, he's thinking out loud. APC was built on a lot of propaganda. Whatever that is happening now is the wages of sin. Gideon C. from Gwagwalada. Your guest talking about 5% and 95% masses. He forgot to understand that 5% influence on the election has the capacity to unduly change the outcome of the election. If it takes Naira policy to stop undue influence on our elections, so be it. Nigerians will adjust. Every business owner or market woman should go and get an account number of POS. Change is difficult. We need to embrace the change for good. CBN wants to limit cash in circulation. Erify and Co. should concentrate on delivering good governance and stop crying over the cashless policy. And OBG says, I understand all these balablu over lesser cash policy, Naira redesign. All my online transactions have been successful to the extent that the people even selling mango at certain places receive transfer from me for 400 Naira mangoes. Raw and cooked food sellers are collecting transfer payment. Some Nigerians want to eat omelette without cracking an egg. I totally disagree with the guest. What he's only looking at is the grey side of the policy. Does he want to reward APC for 8 years? Everyone should adapt. The essence of this deliberate cash scarcity is to migrate people to a lesser cash economy. So you always get this kind of thought. But let's move on to another story.
Something to do with what's happening in terms of insecurity and INEC's fears that could have a bit of impact on the forthcoming elections. Gunmen in large numbers have attacked again the Awada police station near Obosi in Idemili North local government area of Anambra State. Now, it was gathered that the hoodlums invaded the police facility around 2:18 a.m. and engaged the operatives on duty. About 3 hoodlums were shot dead. This is coming less than 24 hours after the attack on the 3-3 Police Divisional Office in Oyi local government area, where about 6 people were killed. Now, a source in the area said the hoodlums started shooting as they approached the police station, adding that the gunshots lasted for several hours. Now, INEC has constantly said it would never postpone the election, but going by everything that's happening right now, we have the fuel scarcity, we have the cash crunch, we have insecurity in some parts of the country. Would extending or postponing the election be good enough to handle this, or should we just go on with it and find a way to work around the situation?
My postulation is that Buhari will go ahead with this election and INEC will go ahead. But we might, choice of word, we might record the lowest voter turnout in history.
That would be sad.
Yeah, it will be sad. But this is what my compatriots that are criticizing, that some of us that are against this policy happening at this time are not factoring in. Some of us have worked assiduously to mobilize people to vote at elections. Now, on the threshold of election, you brought this policy that will hamper even the operations of INEC. How do you reconcile this? What they forgot, even the Labour Party and PDP that are sponsoring this all don't extend. What they have forgotten is that they need to pay their own agents. There are going to be hundreds of thousands of party. Did you get the figure that INEC chairman released last week when he was talking about 240 polling units where there will be no election? 1.6 million polling agents. So those who don't have bank accounts, how do you intend to pay them? Because this is part of the problem. And if you don't pay them, they will trade off. So people should look at the larger picture. People should not be holier than thou. It's not like I'm not partisan. I don't have partisan interest. But my interest is in Nigeria. And we should be mindful that, look, the fact that you don't need something does not mean every other person may not need it. Now, coming to the issue of insecurity, that's it. It's so painful that we may end up recording the lowest voter turnout because people want to vote. You are going to be locked down, mark you, Itodo, from about 12 midnight on Friday to 6 p.m. or thereabout on Saturday. So there will be no food vendors, there will be everything will be standstill. So people don't have cash. I congratulate my sister or brother who could buy mango with 400 Naira and do transfer. But is it every one of them that has POS or have bank account? So these are things that people will just look and say, is it worth it? Already people are saying the outcome of the election is predetermined. We have done so much.
What are people saying it? Because the people are here are saying this is neck to neck, it's intense, the president's policy. There are a lot of people, particularly in the opposition, who see this in their favor and are thinking, it is going to be highly competitive. This is why they are swimming
against the tide. This is why the opposition element are swimming against the tide.
No, I'm just saying for the first time, it's not popular position to say the outcome of this election is determined.
No. There are those who still believe that. But by and large, let's assume that, okay, we see this election as going to be competitive. And I've said the flip side of making cash scarce is that those who have stocked the new notes will be able to use it to lure people and they may vote. But coming to issue of security, this election will hold. Whichever election has held in Afghanistan, it has held in Syria, it has held in Iraq, it has held in Somalia.
It's not about the holding. It's the threat to the timing to saying, would our hands be forced to postpone this election?
Because now it's a catch-22 situation. Okay, should I be on this platform and be saying, INEC postpone?
No.
Of course, I can't do that. People are already burnt out financially. I told you earlier, this is the first time campaigns took 150 days. It has always been 90 days. And look at how much people spent to win their nomination. Some, beyond the money they paid delegates, the money they paid party leaders, some are spent even much more.
I don't want to worry about them.
In the court, what they are spending and what they are still spending in the court is humongous. See the president of the Senate, was it not last week that the Supreme Court just said, okay. So now, the issue at hand is there will be pockets of violence, there will be insecurity with us. So we still have to push ahead.
We have 5 days to the election.
Yes,
what ahead are we pushing?
Unfortunately for me, the opposition that should be worried about what's going on in Southeast, they are not talking. Because that is the base of one of the major opposition candidates. So if you don't have one base, no, I understand. They don't want MC Oluomo to do logistics for INEC in Lagos.
The court has already, ruled.
No, I understand where they are coming from. They believe that it could be contrived that, things can happen. But your base, people are still being shot dead, innocent lives being lost, less than a week to election. It will have. Did you know that the election of November 6, 2021, that brought Professor Chukwuma Soludo as the governor of Anambra State, the turnout was just 10.24%. And that's what they are working towards now. Simon Ekpa from Finland is telling people not to vote. And some people, unknown gunmen, are shooting and killing and destroying facilities, security infrastructure, attacking INEC offices. In 2019, and INEC knows this, on the eve of election, they burnt over 3,000 DDC smart card reader in Oka. On the eve, about 2 days to the election, where INEC stored the smart card readers, some people in broad daylight went and set the place ablaze. Why? They said they don't want election. They want Republic of Biafra. So one of your own son is contesting. Nobody is coming to challenge this unknown government and say, no, this is our best chance.
But Ohaneze and IPOP have constantly ensured or promised, rather, that election would hold and the sit-at-home order that has existed for a very long time would be called off, so people can go out and exercise their rights. Don't you think that would, in a way, cushion the effects of these attacks that are happening in the southeast?
Does their word carry weight? Does the word of Ohaneze or even IPOP, they have lost it. You see, that's why you don't breed monsters. At the beginning, IPOP will say something. Everybody. Now, IPOP is divided. There are those who are sympathetic to the reasonable group amongst them, and then the one that are saying, unless you release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, there will be no election. So that faction is there. Meanwhile, Ohaneze and the governors of the Southeast were watching when all of these monsters were being bred. So now, the double tragedy for Southeast is that it's the smallest geopolitical zone with only 5 states and does not have history of large voter turnout. So now with the activities of unknown government, barely a week to election, it's one or two things will happen. Militarization, because now the military will have to put more men in that place to ensure that the election holds.
Yeah.
And that will scare people, in a sense, because they will say, I don't want to get shot. Remember what happened during that November 6, 2021 election in Anambra? Unknown government said they will not allow election to hold in Ihiala local government. And they succeeded with all the militarization. There was no election on Saturday. And they had to postpone and remobilized on Tuesday after that to be able to have a handful of people.
But then some would say it's not just the Southeast that is under siege or threatened. I mean, if you're looking at the Northwest also, right under the nose of the president in Katsina State, you're getting communities who have been displaced. Even though, yes, the dynamics are different. The Southeast, you see a bit more deliberateness that is targeted to disrupting the election, to the random nature of just violence and terrorism that we get to see in the Northwest, which is not, we have an agenda to disrupt the election. But we build on that after. Let's just quickly hear some thoughts via telephone. 0700 951 0000 or 0809 5974 869 or 0809 9930 137. 30 seconds, just go straight to your point.
Welcome to you.
Good afternoon. Itodo and your guest.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Itodo. I'm calling from Nokogoma. I'm just wondering what your guest wants the person that actually have the Southeast. What does he want him to do? In 2015, when there was a crisis in the North, was anybody calling President Buhari to do anything then? They asked Jonathan to ensure that the area is calm. This is the double standard we are talking about. He has no power. He has no power over the security personnel. He's not even a governor. He's not a senator. So what do you want him to do? Why not address it to the person that is in charge, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces? You are saying that the person that, what do you want him to do, really? What would he do?
All right.
Thank you, and God bless.
Welcome to you.
Hello, good afternoon, Itodo and Kimberly.
Go ahead. Welcome.
Yeah, this is Honorable Minister off your mic. What is happening in Southeast? Those that kill, about 6 of them, the Sayana they went there with is Abuja registration number. And we know that it's people that are fueling that all these crises. So this is the time the security people should get up, and no one is above government. As they succeed in other words, let them send security men there, because I don't trust even the governor of Anambra State. Even the guy from threatened from Finland, there is one of the candidates they saw this.
All right.
Picture.
All right.
His picture in his office. Lagos.
All right, let's go on a very quick break. When we return, we'll hear more from you. Our guest is still pretty much with us. Stay with 95.1 Nigeria Info.